Alexa, what day is it?
It's Thursday, April 5th.
Alexa, what time is it?
The time is 8:29 a.m.
Alexa, turn on light one. Hello, I'm Linton, and we will be continuing with our search for the dreaded mechanism. Um, the back in 1973, a man named Calhoun, not J.C. Calhoun, published in the Proceedings of the Royal Society of Medicine what I think is the classical study in this field. Built a large cage for mice with plenty of nesting places, material for nesting, and made sure they'd have plenty of food and water. And then he released 4 males and 4 females into the box. Um, uh, he observed their behavior and counted them periodically. And here's how their counts changed over time. Now, I would have been happy if he counted more times when the numbers were going up. Look, basically, you start out with 8, you jump to here, and then to there. Then he tells us his exponential growth from here to here. Yeah. He counts them a lot over here. Every dot is a count, of course. Anyway, the population rises very fast, rises more slowly, and on that day, on 1st of March 1970, the last baby mouse is born. At that point, the birth rate drops to 0 and stays there. And the population, declines and basically falls apart because they're all dying of old age. By the time he ended the study out here, there were all the mice were too old to reproduce anyway. He took some fertile males out and put them with females. The males weren't interested. They just had lost their interest in reproduction. Well, in sex, they of course didn't have a clue about what reproduction was. Let's see. Now, Calhoun's real interest was behavior, and so he got his behavior. He wanted to see overcrowding. Um, um, and what he got was all the mice piled up into one corner where they seemed to think that was the high status corner, and most of the right in the corner, all the nesting boxes were full, and then the number of nesting boxes decreased on both sides of that corner and down the opposite walls, and on the far corner, there never was any nesting there at all. So for some reason or other, the mice chose one corner rather arbitrarily, and they would fight for that. Um, um, Another thing that he noticed was the uh, some of the males just got out of the way of everybody else, and just groomed themselves. He said they were quite stupid, but they looked very smart because they were grooming all the time. Um, he called them the beautiful ones, and they groomed and groomed and groomed. Um, The females, of course, were in the nesting boxes. The males who did not manage to attract females, and of course, a dominant male might have more than one female in his nesting box, and that would leave a bunch of males left over, and they all gathered around in the middle of the floor of the cage, and they squabbled and fought. If one of them went off to get a bite to eat or a drink of water, when he got back, he'd get beat up by the others. Um, so you there are urban males in more than one country currently who take no real interest in socializing. They seem to withdraw from the crowd. One is tempted to compare them with um, these mice, but without hard numbers that I don't know where to get. Uh, I can't draw any conclusions. Um, okay, we've looked at the wild mouse data. Now, we were just looking at the cage. Here's the wild mouse data. And as you know, long about here, these populations tend to be low and stable. If there's damped oscillation in there, I don't see it. From time to time, just like the Anasazi and Asian dynasties, we'll have a double peak, second peak higher than the first. And then a little more frequently, we just get one peak. Just the population skyrockets and then goes down very steeply. I don't know why it drops that fast. Calhoun's mice didn't drop. They didn't off very quickly, but it may be that um, during the plagues, the male mice stop fighting each other. They just ignore each other. Usually, if a male wild mouse intrudes on another male, there's going to be a fight. Um, get off my territory, get away from my females, grr. But during plagues, no, they don't fight each other. Yeah, one mouse can walk right through another mouse's territory without getting a reaction. That's not exactly how um, Calhoun's mice behaved, of course. Um, I suspect that life in the wild is pretty dangerous anyway, even if you're not, being subjected to increased predators, which apparently were not a factor, and you're not literally being starved out, which evidently from these people's work, not a factor. Um, but it may be that if those mice just didn't have any interest in females, they may not have had any interest in scurrying around and figuring out how to scare up something to eat. My mother used to call that survival value. She wanted to prepare us for anything, I think, and so she made sure we understood that survival value, meaning putting an effort into making sure there's enough food, is important. Well, it might seem less important to those mice in the big plagues. They just maybe not doing their mousy business. Um, let's see. Don't see a damped oscillation. Now it is true that we've got every opportunity for damped oscillation. Let's take a look at it. All right. As we know, or as we strongly suspect, yeah, sorry about the monitor there, but you remember, I look down in here, I don't really see this damped oscillation we saw with the voles and with fruit flies. We do have the double peak, which we did not see in voles or fruit flies. So something's different. We can say there are two categories. And the mice, which are clearly, well, it is highly suggestive that they're status conscious. They have the double peak and then collapse of the population. The birth rate collapses rather abruptly. The actually die off it takes a lot longer, and I think it's just because they had no problem at all getting enough to eat. Um, um, but from time to time we do get that single peak, which is what we saw in the Calhoun study. Numbers skyrocket and then slow down a bit and then collapse. I don't see the I don't see a tendency for the rate of rise to drop in those highest ones. Um, but we don't have that count counts to see that subtle a change. All right, well, that's what we have for today. This is Linton, and it's the name of the series is um, um, A Most Dreaded Terror. If you want to see the scripts, go to nobabies.net and look down and you'll see video scripts, and there'll be a link to a document that'll have links to all the scripts as I post them, and that will continue to increase. If you want to see the shows, go to YouTube, and if you want to see the papers that I've written, there's indications of that and for the source code. So there's lots more on nobabies.net, and I'll hope you come see some of that, as well as coming back to see these videos. Alexa, turn off light 1.